the podcast. It's Andrea from Mastering Social Media for Schools, and you're in for a treat. This is going to be a podcast interview that you may want to listen to twice. But Rae Schutte is joining me, and we're talking all about social media in 2021, the trends and developments that impact schools. So we've got a great blog that we're referencing to as well. But Emily and I are going to jump into so much. We're really going to talk about how you can stay on top of everything when it comes to social media because, dude, like it changes all the time. Like every day, social media is changing and what works and what doesn't and all of that. But, how does that impact schools? Well, we're going to break it down for you. And we're going to dive in specifically to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And we're going to give you some key takeaways that you need to make note of to make the most of these channels as you look into this next school year. Now, we just turned the calendar onto the new fiscal year, right? Most schools are July 1st to June 30th. Let's maximize the social media for your school district this school year because I believe people are excited, right? Hopefully school is going to look different this year than it did last year. People are excited. We want to celebrate it in bigger and better ways. And you're going to be able to do this with the tips in this episode. And also just an open invitation, you guys. We're going to talk about it a little bit today, but our membership group. So if you're looking for a place to get professional development, to hang out with people who get you, to actually be able to ask questions and get answers from others, really have some good discussions, get you pushed out of your comfort zone a little bit. Okay, I am a little bit pushing you out there. If you're looking for that, our membership program is for you. It's a virtual membership program. It's a Facebook group where you can ask questions, share results, all of that. But also every single week, you guys, we have a training, a live training or a discussion of some sort once a week. We record it. You get access to the recording if you can't join live, but obviously participating live is really helpful. And that membership is open. So you can join today at socialschoolforedu.com. Remember, it's the number 4, edu.com. You can learn all about the membership program there. But if you're looking to make big strides in social media this school year, you're going to want to be part of that group. So I'm going to invite you there, but you're in for a great treat because this interview with Emily is going to give you a lot of great tips and tricks for making the most of social media. So here we go. All right, today's K-12 PR tip is all about Instagram and your limited ability to post links in Instagram posts. Okay, they don't work in Instagram. I don't know why. We got to ask, Instagram why they made that way. But if you would post a website link or a URL in an Instagram post, it's not clickable. The only clickable spot in Instagram is actually in your bio. You have one spot where you can have one website link. Well, if you want to refer people to be able to link to something, a lot of times you say link in bio, okay? But then you can only have one link there. Well, there's a lot of apps out there that allow you multiple spots. Linktree is a free one. It's actually linktr.ee. I have a link in the show notes for you. But that is a free platform where you can put multiple links. So maybe it's a link to your website, okay? Maybe it's a link to a sign-up form for something. Maybe it's a link to your enrollment process, right? Maybe it's a link to your activities or athletic code information, right? It can be all sorts of things that are listed there. It's basically like a website, but it's just a hub that has a bunch of links. And you might want to try that out for your school. So I just wanted to share it. There's other ones out there. There are some paid versions where you can do more customization. You can even do it on Linktree. You can upgrade if you want to. But I just wanted you to know that tip it's available, that capability. And if you didn't know that links didn't work in Instagram, well, guess what? Now you know. So thanks for listening in. I hope that helped. And now let's get into today's interview with Emily Schutte. Hi, Emily Schutte. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Andrea. Thanks for having me again.
I think this is your first time on video.
It is.
So, hey, if you're listening to this on audio, you can actually see. Well, you probably know what I look like because I'm quirky and do a lot of videos. But Emily is kind of the secret sauce behind a lot of the social media that we do, not only for our schools but for our businesses as well. So, just give everybody a brief introduction to you, Emily.
Sure. Well, my name's Emily Schutte. I'm the owner of Emily Writes, and Andrea is one of the primary people that I work with. The marketing on her business. We do a lot of writing together, a lot of strategy, brainstorming. Of course, there's the social media management, and yeah, outside of that, I'm helping other small businesses and solopreneurs with their marketing efforts.
Yeah, and you do a couple schools too. Manage.
I do.
So
I do
you're
two schools.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So their social media and what we're kind of talking about is all these trends in 2021 and how do they apply to schools. But you work with a lot of different business types and how do you stay on top of everything, Emily?
Yeah, so for me, it really comes down to setting aside intentional time for learning and making sure that when new developments come up on social media platforms that are important to me and my clients, if there's new things that are really working or have stopped working, I want to make sure that I know about those, so I'm not wasting time with any of the organizations I work with by pushing something out that's not working. Um, but it can be overwhelming. I mean, there's just so much out there. And so that's why I kind of found a few trusted go to sources to repeatedly go back to. And if there's conflicting information, which there's always different opinions on every development, I try to go back to my few trusted sources. And at the end of the day, they're who I choose to trust because they've worked for me for so long. And so whatever their opinion is usually the direction I go as well.
Yeah, so what are some of those trusted sources that you use?
Well, I go to you, Andrea. I learned so much from you and everything that you and the team and what we've been observing. The other big one is Social Media Examiner. I really have just embraced everything they put out as far as content. And you and I have been to their big conference, and then I attended their workshops this past spring. So their content is just very trustworthy and very transparent. They aren't pushing any kind of products, whereas sometimes you get social media scheduling platforms that will put out, trends and things. And you just always have to wonder, well, are they kind of just taking it because they're trying to sell something, so they're going to push you towards their product? And with Social Media Examiner, they don't have that. So it's pretty trustworthy, in my opinion.
Yeah, and both you and I have paid to go to their conference, and we pay to be in the social media marketing society. So it's actually a
Mm-hmm.
Facebook group that we can be connected. And usually when we get a question, or definitely when I get a question from a school and I don't have the answer, that's the group I go to ask, hey, what's up? And then you get people literally from around the world answering your questions. And so definitely something that both you and I have, hey, we've got to invest in this because it's hard to stay on top of it all. So you just attended the virtual social media marketing world conference that they had to do virtually because of COVID, and hopefully we'll be back in person next year. It was the best conference ever, wasn't it?
It was incredible. Like you and I were both just freaking out the whole time.
And we were so geeking out because we met some of the people that we like
Yes.
listened to and learned from, and we were in the front row of every single session.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a lot of great takeaways, and what I love about the takeaways that you got was how do they apply to schools, Emily? Because that's what we really want to know is things are always changing. Let's dive into how they impact schools. And I just want to let the listeners know Emily put together an amazing blog that is linked in the show notes that is going to talk you through all of these things, okay? But we wanted to talk about it on the podcast too, because it's just such great stuff. So let's start with Facebook. What do you got for Facebook?
Yep, Facebook is king. It's where we see the most traction for our schools. In most cases, it's where 2 billion people in the world are. So you have to be on Facebook. So, one of the things that was reaffirmed for me through these workshops is making sure that when you're posting on Facebook that it's not filler and that it's things that your audience wants to engage with. So as great as it is to put out the flyer for that event or, announcements, those aren't the things that engage and that get your audience, they want to like and comment and share. So making sure that the majority of your content is engaging. And when it comes to schools, that means celebrating. Are we celebrating the classrooms? Are we celebrating the staff, the students, the athletics, the activities, and just making sure that the content is truly engaging. And one thing I thought was really interesting, Andrea, was when you think about what makes you want to share something on your personal Facebook, it's going to be something that you truly want your friends and family to see. So it's going to be something like a picture of your kid. It's going to be a really cool recognition. So the things that they're sharing are going to make them look good in front of others. So the content that you're putting out there should be all-star content whenever possible.
Sure. That makes sense. That's great. And then there's a big push on, obviously engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of tricks or, strategies do you have to build that kind of engagement? Because the more likes and comments and shares your posts get, the more people are going to see it because of the Facebook algorithm.
Yep. So the best tip I can give for that is every single post that you write needs to have some type of call to action, such as a question or an encouragement to like or share, something like comment below if, or join us in, an applause parade or drop an emoji. So to get people to engage, they're seeing so many thousands of pieces of content a day. You have to ask for it. So just putting a call to action into every post.
Yeah, absolutely. And not having too many calls to action. That's another thing that I've seen people. It's like, hey, if you are trying to ask 4 questions in one post,
Mm-hmm.
people don't know which one to answer. And so trying to keep it a little bit simpler is really good. What else do you have for Facebook? Because I know they talked a little bit about video. So can
Mm-hmm.
you tell me about that?
Yeah, so video is still the number one way to get new people to your page. So it is a really competitive environment, especially if most of your posts are organic. Facebook seems to be moving towards, well, we really want you to boost this, we really want you to pay for this. But if we're creating posts with genuine engagements, you'll still reach people, and video is a great way to do that. So if live video, Facebook Live, is something that you're utilizing or would like to utilize, what I learned from the workshop is that you want to do it at the same time every week or every month. So, setting aside something predictable for your audience to expect, whether it's a live video or maybe it's a pre recorded video, but having it go out at the same time, if possible, will help Facebook say, hey, they're a regular content creator, they're creating videos, we'll start pushing this out more.
Okay, awesome. And Facebook is always making changes. It's so complicated. Like now I hear Creator Studios going away and Business Suite and there's all these different names. Any insight into just trying to stay on top of all of that?
Yeah, so it was interesting throughout the workshop. And if you follow Social Media Examiner, it is constantly changing on their end too. They're always trying to figure out what is going to be the best tool. So I'm just going to plug your program here, Andrea, for a second. So inside Andrea's membership program, she and we as a team are regularly putting out updates and notifications of like Facebook just changed this. Here's where you can find your insights now. Don't switch to the new pages experience if you can help it. So we try to put out those kind of reminders and updates as to what Facebook's up to, because I love Creator Studio, but if it's going away, we'll have to adjust to something else, won't we?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I always tell people it's a little bit of job security,
Yeah.
right? Because stuff's always changing, but it definitely is frustrating. And so you are in the right group with when you're hanging out with us. All right, so we talked a little bit about Facebook. Now let's switch our focus to Instagram. So what are some of the key takeaways that you took for, trends that are impacting schools in regards to Instagram?
Yeah, so kind of building off the Facebook conversation, engagement is key. As Instagram grows, it gets bigger and bigger, and there's so many more ways to put content on Instagram. Everything from reels to stories to IGTV to regular feed posts. There's just a lot. And so making sure that your content on Instagram is tailored for Instagram is important. So it's not just as simple as copying over a Facebook post, but making sure that the links are stripped out of those Facebook posts because links can hyperlink on Instagram and kind of rewriting it. So if you want your call to action be to go to a website, you have to say on Instagram, visit the link in our bio to find information on graduation, whatever it is. Um, and the other big thing I got for Instagram, Andrea, and this is just a good writing hack and just a way to help spur your writer's block when you're sitting in front of a blank screen trying to write a post, is a three-part formula. So your hook plus your content plus your call to action. So your hook, that's your first 125 characters. Don't overthink that. Just basically your first sentence. You really want to hook them. Use emojis, use special text, use something that's going to make them want to see the full caption. Then you have your content. Make sure it's engaging. The last thing you want is a big, heavy block of text on Instagram. You want to space it out, give room to breathe, hit enter after every sentence or two. Use emojis, use bullets, whatever you can to make that caption just really beautiful and readable. And then, just like Facebook, always have a call to action. And in that blog I wrote, Andrea, I even included a list of some Instagram specific calls to action.
Yeah, you have a list of six, and then we had even more that we shared with our members. But guess what? It's printed out right next to my computer, Emily,
Oh,
because I'm
good.
such a good student of yours. And so it's just like, hey, here's a double tap to give our hashtag New Auburn students some love, or give this post some and just a heart if this made you smile. If you enjoyed reading this, share it to your stories. So you're kind of encouraging them to do that share, and I think that's great advice. So that's awesome. I want to go back to just something that you said with Instagram.
Mhm.
So we were recently talking with a school, Emily, and they said, no, we want you to include that link in the Instagram post because people just type it into their URL. Now, I'm like, no, they won't. They are not going to type out or take the time to try to copy and paste that link. So when you are in Instagram and you start talking through and you have a link, HTTPS, colon backslash, those links don't work. So what's Emily saying is you have to put the link in the bio, which you only get one link that can work at a time. And so you can say link in bio, or you can use something called like Linktree, or there's some other apps that where you can include multiple apps. It's basically just a redirect to another landing page, a website that gives you some options to be able to link to other things. But that's really important. And it's something I still see schools doing wrong
Mhm.
because, hey, Facebook Business Suite and some of those, they give you options. Hey, I can post to both Facebook and Instagram at the same time, but they're not the same platform. So I think that's so important. And that's kind of the point you were trying to make, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Those, when I see links on Instagram, unfortunately, when I see them in a post, I think, wow, they don't know what they're doing. Another hack I do, Andrea, because I know school websites can be, there's a lot going on your school website. You don't necessarily want a link tree like for every single page. Just be directive. So I do this sometimes where I say, visit our website, click events, and you'll see the June 8th event listed there. So you can give them directions, like go to our website and click events and you'll find it. But don't put the link in the bio because it's or the link in the caption because it's not going to work. It has to be in the bio.
Right, absolutely. Okay, good advice. Instagram stories is so big. And so, what kind of advice do you have for schools that want to use Instagram stories more?
Yeah, so it kind of comes back to the overarching theme, and that is engagement. So it's great to throw up, every graphic and photo, but if you're not driving engagement, your audience isn't, they're not going to keep coming back to their content if it doesn't make them want to do anything to like. So use stickers, like just have fun with those stickers and hashtags and tags, ask questions, run polls, just have fun with stories. It's such a great creative way to kind of use your creativity as a marketer because they're only up for 24 hours. If you don't like them, they're gone in 24 hours. So you really can't screw them up. So just have fun with them and drive engagement. Make that your goal with every single story. And then, if possible, post your stories throughout the day because every time you post a story, it hops to the front of the bubble. There's that little line of stories at the top of the Instagram app. You hop to the front every time you post something new. So make sure you're either posting stories throughout the day or using an app to schedule stories, like Business Suite now allows some people to schedule stories.
Yeah, that's great advice. And if you want to get started with stories and you're like way overwhelmed, we just put a great blog together that has a bunch of how-to videos in it, simple stuff to get started. The other thing is if you're doing social media by yourself at your school, find somebody who loves Instagram stories and let them go to town. Like, let them celebrate what's happening at the high school or the middle school and trust them to go on there. Again, it's only on 24 hours, but and some schools obviously include students in that as well. But I do love your advice, Emily, just to go back. Every time you share a story, it's like a fast pass at Disney where you go to the front of the line again and you get to go on the ride and people are going to see your stuff. And so if you only post on stories once a day, you're going to work your way back in the line. But if you post kind of throughout, you can jump back up and you can schedule stories for some people in Business Suite. Emily can do it. I can't. I don't know how you got in good with Zuckerberg and Instagram and everything, but I'm not in that line yet. But anyways, you can other use other apps as well.
Mhm.
Um, any parting things on Instagram? What about Reels? Like Reels is kind of like TikTok for Instagram. Any advice for schools on that?
Yeah, when I'm using Reels for some of my clients, they do perform really well. They tend to reach 5, 6, 7, 8 times more people. But I only recommend putting Reels into your strategy if you're already really comfortable with Instagram itself. And that's the same
Okay.
advice I got at the workshops as well. Is it's a very different style. Think TikTok. Just that fast paced, surprising, funny, quick cuts. Like you're gonna have to put a little more effort than just a quick story or a post. So if you're going to jump into Reels, Social Media Examiner has so many great free trainings on their YouTube channel.
Okay. That's great. And now that was perfect segue, Emily. We're going to talk about YouTube.
Yes.
So, what kind of key takeaways do you have for YouTube for schools?
Yeah, so the workshops I attended about YouTube were really focused on creators and people trying to run their business on YouTube. So I had to kind of go through a lens of okay, what really matters for a school, and a couple things I got out of it. Number one is YouTube is not just for young people. 74% of adults between the ages of 35 and 45, and 70% of adults over the age of 46 are using YouTube. That doesn't mean they're creating videos necessarily, but they're using it. So you think about using YouTube as a search engine, using it as a place to find how-tos or to watch, funny or interesting stories. You can stream content. YouTube is really big. So as a school, the way that you can harness the power of YouTube is to think of it as another place to house your best video content. And so your concerts perhaps or produce videos that your film classes in high school might be putting together or those great end of year slideshows that might be coming out right now. So putting up that content, but then it's not just on Facebook where you can put a cute caption and a call to action. On YouTube you have to be a little more strategic, Andrea, where you're making sure that keywords that people would search for if they were trying to find, the New Auburn Elementary School kindergarten graduation pictures, like what would they type into Google to find that? and make sure that those words are in the title and description of your video. And a neat little hack that you and I have been doing for the Social School for EDU YouTube channel is we actually take the transcript of the video and we put it in the description so of the video itself. So all those keywords that were said throughout the video, all those all that content is now transcribed for people to for it to be searchable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I love that. And you don't have to put every video on YouTube, but like you said, those more encompassing, probably a little bit longer content.
Mhm.
And we've found some other tips, and again, maybe this is more to a business, but I think it would work for a school too, of really trying to make the
Mhm.
thumbnail stand out, right?
Yeah, so take that extra minute to hop into Canva or Photoshop, your platform of choice, and create a thumbnail that has the title, that has, ideally a photo, like a cutout photo of a person, and just some bright, branded colors. And you can go to Andrea's YouTube channel to like kind of get a visual. It's hard to explain it in, audio here. But just go to her YouTube channel and you'll see what you mean. You'll see the thumbnails we used to do, and you'll see the thumbnails we're doing now where they're just really bright and they grab attention. And that makes people more likely to click them. So if you have that time for your videos for your school, do that.
Yeah. And in the blog, actually, we have kind of what we're doing now and what we used to do. You'll see that the new version really, really stands out. And so, and then one of the other tips that you just shared quickly, and time's getting away
I
from us
know.
already. We got to get to LinkedIn, but just the audio is super important on YouTube, right?
Yeah, audio first. Think about the videos that you're likely to click away from. It's the ones where you can't hear the person. You'll forgive, like, if the camera was a little shaky, and you'll forgive it if the lighting is a little bad. But if audio is bad, no one's going to watch it. So, audio first, lighting second, video editing third.
Sure. Okay. And now how about LinkedIn? Because I think LinkedIn is a big opportunity for schools. And so what did you kind of pull for tips for schools
Mhm.
on that platform?
So if you have somebody at your school, like an administrator or a teacher that is out, doing speaking engagements, things like that, there's so much opportunity for them to develop their personal brand on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really where you as a professional can really grow and have an influence and build a network. So when I think about how schools can leverage LinkedIn, we're talking about a LinkedIn page. So going into LinkedIn, creating an actual page for your school. This does two things. Number one, it allows every single person who works at your school to now link the page directly to their profile. You see it on LinkedIn where it's just like a little briefcase. It doesn't look like it's a real place of work. When there's an actual business page to link to, in this case, a school page, it looks much more legitimate. It has the logo. It looks so much more professional for your employees. And second, now that LinkedIn page becomes a recruiting hub. So think of it like another careers page of your website. You post, staff recognitions, highlights things that show how great it is to work in your district. You post jobs there, and you offer opportunities for here's where you can go to learn more about, our career opportunities. So kind of treating that page as a careers page and a careers hub.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a great place to stay connected to your alumni as well, and to even
Good tip.
reach more and to reach more gentlemen. So there's usually more guys, more males on LinkedIn than maybe some of the other channels. So great advice. And we do have a great blog on 5 ways your schools can use LinkedIn that's also referenced in that same blog
Mm-hmm.
that you had. This is such incredible insight. But now, Emily, this list can be a little overwhelming. So, what would be your best advice? It's the summer months and we're thinking about, okay, I really want to maximize social media for next year. What's kind of your best advice for takeaways from what you learned?
Yeah, great question. So I think that the theme of what I learned was engagement and drive engagement for your school. And so something great that you could do this summer is you could actually put together a list of, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 calls to action that you can then use in social media posts all year round. So customize it to your school. Use some of those ideas from the blog, but everything from, hashtag your school hashtag. give these students some love. Double tap, for Instagram, help us spread the word about this event by sharing it. Like, just brain dump a bunch of calls to action into a document. And now, when you're sitting there writing posts on the fly throughout the year, you can go back to that and you have your calls to action, which should always be in every single post, ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that idea, and it makes it so much easier as you're going to get into the stressful times of the year again. And we certainly have had that this whole past 14 months. I hope you're getting a little break. Um, if schools want to just stay updated on what's working best, kind of what's your best recommendation for them?
Yeah, so again, Andrea, I'll just plug your membership program. It's really an awesome community and a place for people to learn from each other. It's a safe spot where school communicators can ask questions, bounce problems. You don't have to feel stupid for asking a question that's more basic, because 10 other people have that same question. They just haven't asked it yet. And it's just a good place too to also receive like the updates, like when Facebook changes something, or there's something new on Twitter that is going to be impactful for schools. But just to know that you're going to a place that is going to curate that information for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We're so much better together. It's an online group, it's a Facebook group, constantly sharing new trainings like this. I mean, Emily actually did a presentation for everybody on this, and I'm like, I got to get this on the podcast as well. But there's just a lot more discussion and question and answer. So you
Mm-hmm.
guys are listening to us right now, but actually being able to ask a specific question and getting an answer, I think, is so powerful. So we'll definitely have a link to getting more information on the membership program. If you've gotten a question that you want to ask me, you just email me. I'm Andrea at socialschoolforedu.com. Our time has flown by, Emily. If people want to just stay connected to you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, well, first of all, again, thank you, Andrea, for having me on. This is always so much fun, and our time goes so fast. But my personal social media platform of choice is LinkedIn. So go find me on LinkedIn. I'm under Emily Rae Schutte, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Awesome. Well, we're going to make sure to link that also in the show notes. So check this out, you guys. Let us know if some of these tips really help. They certainly have helped me already. Some of these strategies we actually used with the school during the last month. Their monthly reach used to be around 3,000, 2,000 to 3,000. In May, it was 20,000.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we're talking big, big results. Obviously, it starts with having good content, but then just knowing how to use these things, that's powerful. So I just want to say thanks for listening in. Good luck, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.